Great.
More
I
confidence.
wasn't
It's
really
Well, it's been challenging for sure. Obviously, like we started things off with like a major life event that I wasn't expecting. But I do think that if I hadn't been doing this, that would have derailed me in a significant way. I could have easily gone the other direction with that and like laid around in bed and been upset about it.
Yeah.
I was upset, but I did it differently than, and even like, you know, with a couple of closer people that I have at the gym, I was able to like talk to them about it. And so I think if I hadn't had something else like this going on, it would have been a lot worse. I think like we're at the point really where like I'm like fine tuning, you know, I didn't
Yes,
have as
right.
much of like a giant, I did that giant step I think over the last year,
Right.
and now it's really taking it to the next level. I mean, performance wise, I don't know if you saw.
I've been stalking all of your stuff. Let
Yeah,
me move this
that-
closer so that.
That's what I was kind of like, not just that, but some of the other workouts where the speed ones or like the ones that are more of the cardio stuff that are more challenging, like I was topping out on those, which is new. I think I felt the complacency come back in where, you know, that was the original motivation for me doing this at all, right? Was that I was in a rut or whatever. And I think I just come back from like an admittedly like boozy vacation where I felt like gross. And so it was the fact of like, okay, what's the next, like you said, what's the next goal to meet? Otherwise it gets boring, there's nothing else to do. And I wanted to, the improvement in the performance was another thing too. Like I really wanted to see that kick up, because otherwise you're just kind of like plugging away. Then it becomes like going to any other gym, right? Where you're just like, there's no next thing to compete for, to look at. And I think for me, this changed my mindset of these are the things you need to try to do every day.
Every day, right? And not just workout wise.
Right. Right. Well, it was actually more than that, because I was pretty good with that already. But and even with nutrition stuff, like I've been pretty good about it mostly. But it was more of actually examining it. Somebody else said this earlier that that looking, like you have to hand it off and like actually look at it.
Right.
So it was examining those pieces. And then also knowing that there's somebody that you have to tell
Accountability.
afterwards that, you know, they might be like, what's going on with that? So definitely having somebody chase after you. I think, you know, certainly having the support. I mean, I think definitely, obviously, I mean, and I've connected really well. I think that's one thing. It's a different kind of coaching that not everyone, I think, can do.
Yes.
I think there are some people more equipped for that than others. But it's the, I guess it's emotional coaching. It's like a life coaching thing where, you know, we certainly discussed, okay, there are actual stressful things that are happening. That's legitimate and that might get in the way, but how can we get around those things? Or what is something reasonable that we can do to combat that? Yeah, I mean, I think it didn't feel as bad for whatever reason this time. I think it helped me see you're going to get past that, or there's a way through that. And I think also the other thing that I did like that was difficult for me is, it sounds funny because I'm a writer, but the journaling part, or the thing about what did you do well? What did you actually do well? Because there are things you did well. I think a lot of times with things like this, we're looking at what we didn't do well, or how did we not do, you know, and instead this is what did you do well.
I agree.
So I like that. One of the biggest ones was a thing I've struggled with for a very long time is sleep, and we definitely talked about that.
Yeah.
And I am not taking sleep meds anymore at all. And I even like used to cheat and take Benadryl and stuff, and I don't even do that. So that's definitely good, and that was
Huge.
difficult, really difficult for me before. I think just knowing like I said, if you don't do it that day, it's like, okay, that's fine. Just do it the next one or whatever. If you miss that, like I really wanted to try to go run every morning. And you know what? It's just not going to happen every morning, and that's fine. But it's a habit and a goal you reach for that's ingrained. So now I'm like, that's what I should be doing in the morning. It's part of my like daily DNA now.
Oh, I
So I think that's a big one too.
That is nice.
Tagline
you know,
that,
good
man.
do it.
Hashtag daily DNA.
Yep. And so it's in your mind that that's what something like you should be doing, right? So like I changed it up a little bit because it's been so dark and cold that I've just shifted it a little bit later, and I've still gotten that done. The other thing is, like I said, just this example with my neighbor where like normally I would have been like, you know what? And I didn't do that because it just gave me a second to think about what I was about to do. When you're tracking things, you have to think about what you're going to do if you're going to plan it. So it gives you that time to actually think before you act on something. And that's not just a fitness thing. That's part of everything else.